Hello. Hello. I'm Jenny. I talk about things that pop into my head, random things. Lately it's been a lot about politics. And so I do want to thank you for stopping by to listen to what I have to say. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been following the things that I have to say, well, thank you for coming back. You don't have to agree with what I say, but I do ask that if you make a comment in the comment section below to please be polite and be kind to each other. So I posted about this Senator Van Hollen going to El Salvador to bring I'm saying his name wrong, Garcia, the immigrant from El Salvador who was deported back, and they're saying that he did not have due process, and my thoughts on that. So I've learned a couple things since that last video that I wasn't sure about, and I just want to talk about how things turned out for Van Hollen, what I think about that. So things that I've learned since then. Number one is that it was confirmed by two different judges, or determined, I guess, by two different court hearings, or whatever you want to call it, that he was affiliated with the MS-13 gang. And also it came out that he had a restraining order against him by his wife. So apparently he has a problem keeping his hands to himself in his own home as well. And if you didn't know, this is something that I have some strong feelings about as far as DV. We have to say it like that because it's YouTube, right? But I think most of us do, but I've had some experiences, and so it's, something that I feel pretty strongly about as far as that particular topics. That's not cool. You don't put your hands on your wife or your children, period. Or your spouse, because I do know that men can also be abused. So that's my thoughts on that, very briefly. Not cool. So the president from El Salvador was just here visiting with President Trump, and in that conversation that they had, that was broadcast, so we knew about it, he was very specifically, both President Trump and they were both asked about sending Garcia back to the United States. And both presidents were in agreement that this was not going to happen. That El Salvador is the country of this person's home country. So it wasn't like he was sent off to Siberia or someplace like that. He was sent back to the country where he has citizenship. And neither president wanted to send him back to the United States. Neither president. So we have two countries who are in agreement on what to do with this person. Then right after that, Van Hollen makes an announcement publicly, so the whole world can hear it, that he's going to go to El Salvador to try to get him back. And I've seen places where, oh no, he's not trying to get him back. He just wants to make sure that, check on his condition. Well, everything I've seen, he's stating very strongly that he's going to do everything he can to get this man back into the United States. Okay, so it's coming out of his own mouth, both here in the United States where he's done press conferences, and in El Salvador where they had translators and he had to speak one sentence at a time so that they could broadcast it in their language so that they knew exactly what he was saying. He wants to bring this man home, quote, home, back to Maryland or the United States or wherever he wants to live in our country here. So he's not just checking on his condition. But when he gets down there, the president of El Salvador isn't there. And he tried to speak to the vice president, and he couldn't do that. And he wanted to go in and check in the prison on the prisoner, and he couldn't do that. Well, I've done my research. I'm a nobody. I'm a person who's getting ready to go clean somebody's toilets. And I knew that he couldn't just go down there to that country and ask to speak to the president of their country and go into a jail that is their highest security and think that I'm going to go see some specific person, let alone tour the jail, which he said he didn't want to do that, which is fine. But I know enough about that jail or prison, whatever you want to call it, right here in my car in Georgia, in the United States of America, that you can't just walk in there and go ahead and look. So I think, I don't know who paid for his trip, if it's the people of Maryland, I don't know. But I do know this: you can't just go walking into a country and think that you're going to talk to the top official there or go to a high security prison. Not even here in the United States. You can't just walk into a prison here in the United States and say, can I talk to so-and-so? It's not going to happen. Like, where was this man's brain? I guess I'm feeling a little passionate here about this, but I just, I'm not getting it. I do not understand it. Even if where is his head? And this person's a state leader. Oh, good Lord. So anyway, I think he's dumb. He didn't think it through. But the other, I know, I'm supposed to be nice too, right? Maybe. The other thing is, I was kind of shocked to learn that somebody would even do this when he first announced it. And I went and I looked up what is the definition of treason. And I do believe, I know if I might not be the only person, but I believe that what he's done is an act of treason. I'm sorry, but I do believe it. And, there's multiple layers to this, and he hasn't tried to kill anybody, but he is trying to aid and comfort somebody who is part of an organization that the United States has labeled as a terrorist group. And we're not in an act of war here against terror. As far as I'm aware, it has not been officially announced. And I don't know that it ever will be because of the nature of, maybe it will, I don't know. But the nature of gang activity, it may or may not. But it is something that this country and our government has taken a hard stance on. We're not going to put up with it, particularly with foreign gangs. I think, honestly, they should do it against domestic gangs, too. That's just my little thoughts. But he's trying to aid and comfort a member of that group. And that's treason. As far as my understanding of the definition, it's treason. It's treason. And I think when he gets back, which I think he should be charged with treason, and I think he should be, well, maybe, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. So he did attempt something, but he was unsuccessful. And part of that, I think, is his own lack of preparation. I'm going to say it that way. Because it's not that hard to figure out. I figured it out. And I know there's a lot of other people here who are thinking, well, yeah, duh. If you'd just taken time to do a little research, you would have known you were wasting your time going down there without being prepared. Who does that? I mean, really, honestly, think about it. If you're going to somebody's house that you're not really good friends or family, so you can't just show up unannounced, what do you think is going to happen? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It does not make one lick of sense to me at all, and I don't get it. I really honestly don't get it, and I think that he is setting a bad example for, or a bad representation of what the United States is about. He's gone off as a lone wolf. I know that there's people who are outraged about what happened to this person, the way that it went through. But bottom line is, we don't need people like that in our country. And what was it, the man's name? It wasn't Marco Rubio, it was another guy. He said, we're not going to go into another country and kidnap a person and bring them back here. And that's what it would be, kidnapping. If El Salvador doesn't want to give him up, then we have no right to take him. It would be just like El Salvador coming in here and taking one of our people. Come on. Where's your head? Think.